You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Yeah. Yes. Thursday night. It's Thursday night. I'm feeling a little groovy tonight. So you know what I'm going to do on the flip side? I'm going to go on the drums and I'm going to mess around on the drums. It may not even sound good because I got a whole bunch of songs on the list that I wanted to learn that I haven't even really tried to learn yet. So I'm just going to improvise and be goofy. That'll happen after the show though. That's when I really let my hair down. The three sprigs of hair I have left. I let it all down. I just feel the breeze in my scalp. Thelma and Louise. Anyway, it's good to have you here on a December 18th, Thursday night. It is the last 7 o'clock show for the week. Of course, it doesn't mean it's the last of the week. Tomorrow we'll be doing our coffee-soaked Q&A. That'll probably be sometime in the 10 o'clock hour on Pilled and YouTube and Rumble and maybe even Instagram. Don't know. But that's a lot more of reading the general chat and going through reels and other stories. I mean, even other little things there too. I found a trailer. My father sent it to me. There's a new Jimmy Stewart biopic that's coming out. I'm going to have to see that. Big fan of Jimmy Stewart. Of course, Friday night, tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. I'm really excited about doing another film club watch party. That's members only too. So all of you monthly sponsors, including the 23 or so who just claimed sponsorships in the Pilled chat the other night, just make sure you look out. I send to your email. I post on the YouTube member section. That's where you can go and that's where you can get it there too. And Patreon, Subscribe Star, the members only section on the Quite Frankly official website. I can't wait for that because Eyes Wide Shut was so fun. And this is going to be like an hour shorter and just feel good and all that stuff. It leaves you a little bit less creeped out. You know, a little bit less creeped out. Just some great stuff. So anyway, welcome to the show. We're going to have Zach Vorhies coming on with us in the first half. We're going to have Matt from Cultivate, Elevate dropping in the second half, do a little bit of Conspiracy Theory Roulette. Just let everybody know, guys and gals, first and foremost, where are you from? Let's get a roll call in all of the chat rooms. Let everybody know what state, what country, what city, whatever you want to do, throw it out there. Let's fluff up all of the chat rooms, make them nice and lively. Remember, whatever shows you watch that you enjoy, that you want to see do well, if you're lurking, you're killing them. I understand. You should be able to watch whatever you want, sit back and not do anything, but at least leave a like. It is so important, so very important. That's the way that the digital world has shifted in the last couple of years. So please drop a comment, say anything in the chat, and smash like. All right. Also, the giveaway has begun. The last before Christmas. This is my last black wheelchair Santa. This is my last one. It still has a tag on it. I have one for me that I will never be giving up. This is my last black wheelchair Santa. The feet have come off. It came out of the box this way of the felt. I mean, so you just have to glue it to the wheels, the front wheels. But black wheelchair Santa and another ounce of silver. It'll be tonight all throughout the weekend, and I'll give this away on Tuesday night. So I'll be adding things on to it. But I mean, this is a prized possession. This is the last of my 2023 stock. It goes for $8,000 in some parts, some parts of the internet. But you guys can set the price. So quite frankly, superchat.com, YouTube super chats, Rumble rants, gold pills. I'll be collecting your names over the course of the weekend, and we'll be giving it away. One of the last things we do before Christmas, the Christmas break next week. So you got to get in on that. Send anything, get your name in. You got to be in it to win it. All right. A few things we'll be doing before Zach gets here, because I want to talk to him about the MIT fusion scientist that was assassinated. Very strange. Very strange indeed. But what do we have? Oh, here we go. Well, Donald Trump let everybody know yesterday that Dan Bongino is leaving. He's leaving the DOJ. That's not what I wanted to do. Sorry. Here he is right here. It's a very quick thing that he said.
Oh, Dan did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show. Yeah, I do.
He wants to go back to his show. I would want to go back to my show too. You know, at least you have some control over your schedule. You can set goals and achieve them. You're not just some wallflower. I mean, can anybody actually tell me what Dan Bongino did or was allowed to do? There were no bigger bloodhounds out there than Kash Patel and Dan Bongino when they were writing books and connecting dots on their own private live streams or as guests on other people's live streams. Bloodhounds. And then we started getting the Epstein really did kill himself hostage videos. And I was like, oh, no. Yeah, so what's he doing over there? Wallflower. Now, I'm sure people say, oh, he did a lot. Well, I don't know. As far as the public goes, I haven't seen anything. And I wonder. Write in if you have some inside information. We should open up the inside information line again sometime soon. That's what we're going to do. Inside information line. Okay, so now listen to this. I gotta put some more things on that. I'm going to be piling on to some things that we were doing on Monday and Tuesday. Just because the situation out of UK and Australia and other parts of Europe is just so pathetic, especially when it comes down to the way that this is being handled in a public relations sense. Here is Prime Minister Anthony Albanese in Australia talking about one of the responses to the latest massacre, that they're bringing in tighter speech laws as well as gun reform, even though nobody that was, I mean, it's like fish in a barrel wherever you go.
Plan. Firstly, the Attorney General and Minister for Home Affairs will develop a package of legislative reforms to crack down on those who spread hate, division and radicalisation. The National Security Committee has agreed that changes will include the following 5 points.
I'm telling you, man, the Australian accent, I've told all of my wonderful Aussie friends out there, when you guys are speaking truth, or you got just somebody telling a funny story and everything's on the up and up, there's nothing cooler than your accent. There's nothing hotter than hot Australian chick just talking about life and whatever. But when you guys talk stupid, when somebody like this goes out there with his Australian accent, I said, man, that accent just makes it worse. It makes it even more. I don't even know. It's just, I guess that's just the way with everything, right? You say the same thing about a New York accent. Gosh, this is just awful.
Agreed changes will include.
This is a eunuch.
1, aggravated hate speech offence for preachers and leaders who promote violence.
For preachers and leaders who promote violence. Who are you talking about? Who specifically are you talking about? I mean, I don't know if anybody out there in Australia who died, by whatever means, died because of hate speech, but that's just incredible, isn't it? It's just absolutely pathetic. Here's another one for you going over to the UK. This is from Good Morning Britain. Boys as young as 11 could be sent to anti-misogyny classes as part of the government's long-awaited strategy to tackle violence against women and girls.
How do you deal with this scenario? You have a lesson to an 11-year-old bunch of boys about misogyny and where to go right and where to go not to go wrong. And then they leave the class, they're on the bus home and they're online, and they're looking at rampant, what they think is amusing, funny, interesting, anti-misogynistic, or rather misogynistic stuff.
Which is probably funny, amusing, and just normal.
So the lessons are being countered same day by what these boys are seeing online.
Yes, well, what are we going to do? That's always the problem that progressives have. We are putting so much time and resources into stopping people from acting normal. And then they leave school and the world is still too free. There are too many conflicting messages that are still out there. There are still too many competing ideas that are still able to reach people. What do we do? And of course, this broad just talks about the henpecking that's going on right now. Somebody in the comments said this is the gayest police state ever in history. And they're true. They are very true when they say that. It's just crazy. I mean, the sexual assault stats are insane. Insane. It's all migrants, of course. But the state, man, oh man, the state just can't bring themselves to start deportations for some reason. So they browbeat and they henpeck European boys just to make it seem like they're doing something productive because the carnage continues. Now, the next piece of media really brings me back to Tuesday night's show with Jay. And I got to tell you, every once in a while, I have to talk about this. Every once in a while it builds up. I got to get it out because then it's like I held back a sneeze. So here it is. This is, I already showed you the Australia one, but this is incredible. This one right here. No, was it? Yeah. Oh, that's right. It was the Australian one I wanted to show you there too. And let me just throw something out there about the Australia thing before I move to this next one, which is Ursula von der Leyen at a Hanukkah ceremony, I guess yesterday. The Hegelian dialectic here is completely broken. Okay? It's broken. But and it's just insane. It makes it seem so crazy. I think this is why things are just really going very badly for them, and they're just speeding things up. Think back to something. Think back to 2001. Think back to 2001, September 11th. We lived through the attacks. We received the TSA in exchange. We received the creation of the DHS in exchange. The First and the Fourth Amendment essentially out the window completely with that exchange. We got the Patriot Act, expanded wiretapping. There's the data collection, the pen registers, the sneak and peek searches. The FBI could suddenly just obtain all types of records, business or otherwise, in secret, as long as it was part of a so-called terrorism investigation. Gag orders all over the place. The information sharing was, of course, broadened. And then it just got worse and worse with the information sharing between agencies and all that. So the lines between foreign intel and domestic were completely blurred. That's not even touching the mandate that our government and other governments gave to themselves to go and then invade the Middle East. That's not even, we're just talking about forget about the actual war that claimed the lives of however many millions. But there is a superficial logic that can be followed from September 11th, the attacks on September 11th, through radical Islamists hate our freedom. And here's the way that we are going to A, get those who are responsible, and B, prevent it from happening again. You know, you could at least follow that train of thought as it was pitched to us, even though the whole thing ended up being largely bullshit. Okay? Now, with Australians in Europe and the US right now, there is no logic. The story is totally fried. It is deep fried bullshit. Okay? You think about it. We're overpopulated, but we need hundreds of millions of fast breeding, culturally incompatible people to save us from population collapse. Okay? Not to mention, much of the migration is coming from the countries that were destroyed by the aforementioned war on terror. Okay? Then we have conflicting thoughts like we need migrants to work so that, because we need a large enough tax base to support native Europeans in retirement. And Europeans are just not having, just not having any kids anymore. But most of the new arrivals are on welfare. So how the hell is that going to happen? Everybody that's trying to retire are taking care of the new arrivals who are supposedly going to be the new base of Europe and elsewhere. And then we have the migrants abhor Western liberal values, which they do. They assault European women. They have a blood rivalry with the Jews. But the only solution is to keep bringing more of them in, to disarm the public and limit people's ability to speak honestly about the problem. Like when you're trying to, like with 9/11 and the war on terror, you were given something that superficially made sense. Okay? Now listen to this statement. This is Ursula von der Leyen at Hanukkah ceremony the other night in Europe.
Tonight it is all the more important to celebrate this holiday joyfully and publicly. The best place for Hanukkah, I am told, is the window of a house in public sight. This is because the lights of Hanukkah are meant to be shared, to illuminate the streets and spaces around us. But today, too many Jews do not feel safe to light a Hanukkah in the window, or wear kippah in public, or a Star of David around their necks. Many must walk past armed guards to attend the synagogue and worry about sending their children to school. The night around us has indeed grown dark. The old evil is once again rearing its head. There can be no place for the poison of anti-Semitism, especially in Europe.
Everybody's getting brutalized in Europe. Everybody. None worse than native Europeans. Okay? Native white Christian Europeans. But this is coming from the top. This is the messaging on this thing. We'll just follow it out, because I just need to put a cherry on top of the conversations we had on Monday and Tuesday, like I said, or else it's going to feel like I'm holding something in here.
Because freedom of worship, freedom of speech, freedom from fear, these are fundamental to our European Union. And today, this is our responsibility. We must ensure that Hanukkah can shine from windows across the continent, just as this one shines in Brussels tonight. In times when Jewish life is so much under pressure, I welcome all the more the creation of the House of Jewish Life in the heart of the European Quarter, dear Nehama and dear Avi. Is European history. Let me be very clear. Jewish history is European history. Jewish culture is European culture. And Jewish life must be able to flourish for Europe to flourish fully.
Now, do not take the bait. Don't take the bait. That's number one. Number two, how can Europe be both an exclusively Christian dominion, but also shaped by Jewish culture? Okay, so there's something else for you. Number three, most important, would Ursula over here be so kind as to be extremely specific, just like Mr. Albanese or whatever his name is over there in Australia, about the source of the threat to Jewish lives in Europe? Because the answer to that question is the key, of course, to everything. Because the source of the threat is all of the people she's letting into Europe, and has no intention of slowing down or reversing at all. But why? Why would she do that? Why would anyone do that? That's the question we were asking. because this goes back to Monday with Leo Zagami, Tuesday with Jay, whether they're Zionists, Sabbatean Frankists, or any of their fellow travelers like Ursula over here. They're Judas ghosts. They're Judas goats. They seem to love putting Jewish people in terrible danger. They seem to love it. They seem to need it. It is sacrificial to them. There's a difference between hating these people and knowing that they're working a terrible, terrible operation and taking the bait and just anybody with a Jewish last name thinking that they're part of some kind of a global plot to take everything. You can't take that bait. But there's something here, like people, you don't ever expect to come to this show and hear, me do breakdowns of what Paul Warburg or Arthur Balfour had for lunch on April 7th, 1903. I'm not that kind of a historian. I don't know. You don't need to see how the logic is broken with this stuff. And people who put themselves out there as representatives of certain special interest groups' best interests are actually setting them up for disaster and ignoring other people. Okay, so they're putting Jewish people in danger constantly while ignoring everyone else that they're getting killed along the way, killed and assaulted along the way, just completely ignoring everything else. And one can only assume that they do this in order to form some sort of unquestionable political mandate. That's just what you have to assume. Prove it wrong. You have to prove it wrong. Because I don't see any other way around it. There's such a powerful lobby in the world. The Israeli lobby, the ADL, all that entire network. It's such a powerful lobby. Why is the only thing they're not asking for is complete repatriation of Muslims that have been brought in from war zones all over the place that are not assimilating? Why is it that's the only thing they're not asking for? The short answer is, of course, because that would save Europe. So it shows you where the priority is. Instead, they want Christian Europeans' grief silenced through censorship while more migrants are processed. That's the deal here. Where they say Hungary and Poland are xenophobic and anti this and anti that because they're not taking all of the people that are causing so many problems for their most precious groups. It's the so like I said, the dialectic is in play. There's a problem, there's a reaction, there's a solution, but the fact is that they can't make the faintest logical justification for the solution anymore. And that tells me that this is a rush to the finish line. Absolutely. And it makes perfect sense to me. That's why it makes perfect sense to me that they want the last of Europe's native-born sons and daughters to get incinerated fighting the Russians. Less resistance on the home front, especially if there's any last-minute heroics from people who want to save their country and their culture. I mean, did you see Canada? Canada sent out their top girl soldier, Canada's top general, Jeannie Carignan, sent out their top girl soldier to announce that they're ready for war. They're ready. I bet she didn't make her obligatory indigenous land acknowledgement before she made this statement. Usually these psychos pipe down on all the crazy talk about indigenous this, indigenous that, when they're asking poor white boys to go die for them in foreign lands again. That's usually what they do. So I'm sorry. I mean, I look at all this and it's the most obvious question. You just can't take the bait. You can't take the bait and just start, they want everybody to be, Jew this, Jew that. And the Jews are the sacrifice. Everybody's getting sacrificed. But, you think about all what is being lost in Europe from people who have been there for so long. And it's just that there's no political mandate to be gained from representing native white Christian Europeans, ethnic Europeans anciently ethnic European nation states in reclaiming whatever was that the whole point was to get rid of Europe. So it's fucked up because there's no way to dispute it at this point for me. I can't see any other way around it, and it's really scary shit. Really scary stuff. Canada sends out the girl soldier. We had Rosie the Riveters holding it down while the boys were away during World War II. Now Rosie and the boys are going to go to Siberia. That's where they want to send them all. While all the newly arrived Afghan families set up a brand new halal restaurant somewhere in downtown Toronto. That's what's going on there. And along the way, they're creating nothing but resentment. And if you take a step back, they've got you. You just got to stand firm in whatever you're seeing. And you have to try to be, I don't know. I'm trying not to get too emotional. But damn, man. I saw these statements made by this Ursula von der Leyen, who I think she's like the European Union, not the European Union president. I don't know how all that crap works out there. But holy shit. If you saw I was looking at it before, all of the numbers. Insane with assault all over the place. Anyway, that's what I wanted to throw out. Had to put it out there. I hope it was received semi-well. And then there we go. Now here's the next story as I bring on Zach Vorhies. This is from Mario Knopfel on Twitter. I read a couple of articles about this story, but this was a pretty decent summary. There's an MIT fusion scientist who was shot dead in his home, one of the brightest minds on Earth's magnetic dynamics. Massachusetts State Police are investigating the death of MIT professor Nuno F.G. Lorio as a homicide after he was shot multiple times inside of his Brookline home on Monday night. Lorio, 47 years old, was rushed to the hospital but died early Tuesday morning. His wife and others inside placed a 911 call after neighbors heard several loud bangs. No suspect or motive has been identified. According to Brian Romilly, Lorio was one of the brightest minds in fusion research. He viewed Earth as an active magnetic dynamo system that must reverse polarization on a regular cycle and developed a new analog approach to understanding plasma. Lorio was appointed director of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center in May, overseeing more than 250 scientists and students. His work on plasma turbulence and magnetized plasma dynamics was considered foundational to practical fusion energy. Israeli officials are separately examining the intelligence suggesting a possible Iranian connection to the murder through U.S. investigators. The U.S. investigator has not confirmed any of the state involvement. What the? Of course, I don't know what that means. Maybe this why the Israelis are involved in that, where they just have to pop in to blame the Iranians. It's almost a comic relief at this point when I read shit like that. Like you're waiting for Steve Urkel to show up and say, "Did I do that?" It's Zach's here. Hey, Zach, how are you?
Hey, Frank, good to be back.
It's good to be. It's good to hear. The first thing to hear from somebody is a laugh. It's good to hear you.
It was great. It was a great analogy, man. Like, did I do that? Right? Like, what is going on here? Why are all the fingers being pointed around?
Well, what the hell? What do you think about this? Because you're the first person I always think about bringing on the show when there's big, news and emerging technologies and all this stuff. And I wonder, a lot of people are like, well, fusion scientists, could this be about free energy or something that can change the world in some way? I don't know. How do you read this?
Look, we've had a bunch of chances to get off this fossil fuel highway with a bunch of off ramps towards nuclear fusion. It turns out nuclear fusion is not that hard to do, but it does break the petrodollar and undermines the entire Western global reserve currency system. So every single time there's an off ramp, they basically kill a bunch of people and reset it and declare it a fraud, right? And so what we're at right now is basically the next version of society, which with limitless energy that's too cheap to meter, is trying to poke through. And the elites are basically keeping it back just a little bit longer. You've been asking sort of like, well, who could be responsible for this? This kind of looks like a mafia hit. What's really interesting is that Trump Media Group just did a cash buyout for a fusion company. This just happened today. It was announced today. And so I want to float this out there. Like, what if this was, the block and tackle mafia? Not saying that Trump actually had anything to do with it himself, but the block and tackle mafia for Trump went out there and basically took out a piece of competition because this guy was brilliant. He knew what was really going on. He's changed the actual, theoretical underpinnings with this theory of his that he's demonstrated called magnetic reconnection. Which is, it basically powers a lot of the phenomenon that we see with the sun. It's like, why do we have these solar flares? Like, why does this magnetic current sort of flip back and forth and flip out like a crack of a whip and blow out, the sun's plasma? We get the aurora borealis and all that other stuff. And basically what he's been able to figure out is that this is a form of magnetic reconnection. It's when, magnetism and electricity are linked. So with when you have these magnetic cycles, you have a current sheet. That current sheet was thought to be stable, but turns out that it's not. And that current sheet will change very rapidly. And what happens is that you have a magnetic reconnection with these magnetic lines. It cracks and snaps like a whip, and a bunch of energy gets generated like a sonic boom. And so that's what this physicist was working on. It looks like he was making a lot of progress. And I think that what happened was he was going to get in the way of, the next generation of energy, right? Because, solar panels, they're great, but you need a lot of them. If you want to build, secure power for data centers that can survive, like, let's say, a war, well, you can't have those power generators on the surface of the planet like you do with solar. You're going to have them deep underground. And the only way that you can do that, like guaranteed power 5 miles under the ground, is you're going to have to use nuclear. Nuclear fission is problematic in a lot of different ways because of the size of the nuclear fuel and what's to do with the radioactive products. Fusion is basically 100 to 1 in terms of energy density, right? Like, this is a thing that can power the spaceship and get us to, our neighboring stars given a long enough time. And so this is a very valuable piece of technology. I think that what happened is that they're trying to slow it down a little bit because basically the outer cabal is taking over the industry in that they're making some really important deals right now, because what they realize is that we got to get off the global warming hoax. We got to, solar's not going to get us there. We got to get serious power down. We've got to release the floodgates of this new nuclear technology so that we can compete with China. Because, with all this artificial intelligence, we need to have a real conversation of how we're going to put down the next terawatt of power.
I was gonna ask you that because I don't know too much about AI. I know that everything is going to be going digital, whether we like it or not. But the one thing that keeps popping up in the news right now about AI from a practical sense is how much energy costs are going to go up for people, just so that, there's a line of jokes about it because, people are talking about what everybody is going to be, all the images we're going to be generating in the silly memes and all that stuff, but that AI sucks so much power that there's going to be a need for new ways of supplying that everything that we have right now is not going to cut it.
Yeah, and the Bernie Sanders sort of decelerationist sort of point of view, like, let's not use AI because it's too powerful, right? Like, I'm sorry, the people that run society are descendants of Rome, right? And the Roman aristocracy, like giving up power is not what they do. We're going to go head first into this and develop it as much as we can. And so the solution to that is we got to get off this like civilian power infrastructure, right? Like it's just not cutting it. We need to, get past all this red tape, and we need to go directly to, basically military grade fusion technology development. We need to basically have a Manhattan Project. And, what I believe is that, this outer cabal has basically been suppressing a whole bunch of key technologies. And now that we really need this energy now, because, we're in a full on race with, the Eastern Empire known as China, right? Like someone, and whoever develops the most economic capacity is going to win. In the best case scenario, we both have a stalemate. But the thing is that you don't want to lose. And the people that are in charge of society, they realize they don't want to lose. They can't lose. They're going to put down, they're preparing to put down 10x more power that we have, and then 100x more power than we have. If you've got a Robinhood account or you do trading, I would recommend that you invest in these new energy stocks so that you could grab a piece of this wealth that is coming.
Well, last night we got a, I don't know what you would call it. It was like a lightning round of announcements that came from Donald Trump. Nobody knew what the hell we were going to get. We were going to get, according to Tucker Carlson, we were going to get a declaration of war last night. But instead, what we had was a 10-minute or so lightning round of announcements of what was coming our way and how great things are going to be. I personally, over here in the Northeast, we're still paying, north of $3 for a gallon of gas. I feel great for anybody in the audience who is part of that $1.99 a gallon crew out there. I haven't seen it, but we were getting, out of all the things that we were being promised is coming, the one thing was a complete wash in new energy sources that were going to make energy costs plummet, which of course, energy costs ties into everything, all of our overhead, rent, products, everything, because it takes a lot less to transport things that we need and all that stuff. So energy is the key to so much, not just keeping the lights on. So I don't know. You think that there's something to that statement about what's going to be flipped on in 2026?
Yeah, they have to, right? Because the thing is that China's ignored the whole climate global warming scam. They've laid down impossible nuclear reactors that have been suppressed here in the United States. Particularly the thorium-232 nuclear reactor that's been suppressed in here since 1967. I suggest your audience, if they want to get up to debriefed on this, look up Thorium in 5 Minutes on YouTube. Very popular video. But essentially what it does is you can't produce nuclear bombs out of it, right? Because unlike uranium-235, it doesn't produce plutonium as a byproduct. And if you don't have plutonium, you don't have a trigger for hydrogen and nuclear fusion bombs and fission bombs. And so because of that, the United States is like, well, we don't want this. It's an abundant source of energy. It burns 99% of the fuel, by the way, rather than the 1% that we get with uranium-235. And so the reality is that we could have had, nuclear decades ago, like half a century ago. And China's like, hey, we're not going to wait. We're just going to build thorium reactors. And so their first thorium reactor came online this month. And if the people running the West don't get on board, they're going to realize that they're not just a little bit behind, but they're 1/10 the amount of power that China is producing right now. We already have to understand that the West, the amount of electrons that the United States, is able to generate for its economy is about 1/2 of what China is doing right now. 1/2. We're already behind 2-1. And the thing is that we're going to fall to 3-1, 4-1, 10-1. We will if we don't turn this ship around and start laying down all of this new nuclear technology. And so that's what you're seeing right here. That's usually why I'm very bullish on it. And that's why I think we are heading into a new age of energy supply, because we have to. And if we don't, China's is eventually going to destroy us when they get far enough ahead of us economically.
Well, let me just bring you back to the first story that we were doing with the MIT worker, this guy Lorio, if I'm saying his name right. But friends say that he believed fusion energy could alter the course of human history. You seem to agree on that. But my question here is, will his work not be continued? I mean, was he a one-man band? I mean, I don't understand how. I mean, you even think about somebody like, you think about Terminator 2 going back in time to kill Miles Dyson because he was going to be the one that launched Skynet, and they realized, oh no, we have to throw the original Terminator's arm and the chip into the fire as well. You just killing Dyson doesn't do anything. All of his work is already, set into motion. So, I mean, what would that's where I'm a little bit, I don't know anything about this other than what I'm reading, but motive. It's like, what would killing one guy, even if he was the smartest brain in the room, do for the future? If he's already accomplished so much, there must be a program that's, running almost autonomously at this point.
Yeah, let me answer that by referring to a very interesting conversation that Mark Andreessen shared with the internet about a year ago. I think it was within this year, but he basically said, he got brought into Biden's office to talk about this new AI bill, and he's like, Biden's talking about clampdowns, and he's talking back to the government, like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna make math illegal, ha ha ha, right? And what they revealed to him, which was a bombshell, was that, oh yeah, we've actually made an entire branch of physics illegal. Okay, and they suppressed it for decades, and they're like, you don't think that we can't do it again? Okay, and Mark Andreessen went, whoa, right? Like, if there's an entire branch of math that's been made illegal, then what's this garbage that's being shared all over the internet? Like that's usually why the internet's so weird with like, oh, quantum computers and, hot fusion, like decades away. The people that are at the very top know that this is complete ridiculousness. This is tomfoolery. They've had the technology for nuclear fusion for a very long time. It's not that this technology won't be carried forward by this, assassinated scientist. It's that he was stumbling onto knowledge that was already discovered, occulted, and not public knowledge. And so his discoveries are basically inevitable. They're going to be part of the new physics that they're eventually going to reveal to the public when they decide that it's time to rewrite the science books on nuclear technology and energy production.
Okay. All right. Well, then let me bring you right to the front door of this other thing that came out. It was a statement from Donald Trump. Speaking of Donald Trump the other day, I mean, I know everything. Again, I know everything is going digital. There's really nothing we can do to stop it. But what do you make of this statement? President Trump, this is by way of Trending Bitcoin, said
many Americans
that the current financial system is outdated and will soon be replaced with a state-of-the-art cryptocurrency framework under the new structure bill, and that the entire financial system could go on-chain, powered by crypto. I want you to listen to this. Hold on.
are unaware that behind the scenes, the technical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date, many, many years out of date. You know that. Paul and others are straightening it out, but payments and money transfers are costly and take days or even weeks to clear. Under this bill, the entire ancient system will be eligible for a 21st century upgrade using the state-of-the-art crypto technology. Who would have thought we would have been saying that 2 years after many?
Okay, so I mean, it's only a 32-second clip. I don't know what context we lose that came afterwards, but obviously, I think all this is going to, even somebody who doesn't really understand too much, I try to pick up what I can. I have to imagine this is going to go just down to the consumer level, to even how the federal government optimizes the way that it pays employees and transfers monies around to make things secure, instantaneous, whatever the hell it is. How did you take, knowing the technology and the blockchain very well, how did you take these statements?
Look, this assassination that we had is because of the petrodollar system. That petrodollar system is the store of value for every, Federal Reserve credit note that sits in your wallet. Eventually it can be exchanged for petrodollar, barrel of oil to power your economic system, right? And the problem is that reserve currency is only valuable if you have a scarcity of energy, right? And so the thing is that if you allow energy to be, too cheap to meter, and you take that off from the backing of a currency, then what backs the currency going into the future? Right? This is a crisis for the banking system, right? They need, it's even beyond the banking system. It's the monetary system that underlies the value of which banks can loan money, as a basis of what's your collateral. They need to move to a new system. It's not going to be gold. It's not going to be, oil. And I guess, the inner elites have decided that, well, let's make it this thing that we just invent up out of our head. Bitcoin is not a natural phenomenon. It's built out of the, the intelligence community, from these secret societies, whatever. And the thing is that it's got no real intrinsic value. It's basically just the inherent value of artificial scarcity. And if you really want to be honest about it, it's going to be backed by violence from the Western hegemon, the American empire that spans across the world. Like that's really what it is. And so we're going from a value-based currency to a blockchain/violence based currency that's going to power the next monetary reserve system. And in a way, it's really great because it means that all of this energy scarcity is going to be something that just happened in the beginning of the 21st century. By the end of the 21st century, we're going to see that resolved. We're going to see a different monetary system. And Trump's just laying down the framework for that. That's the reason why he's promoting this cryptocurrency, is because we need to be looking at a post-petrodollar system here for America and for the world.
And are you, you seem to be, I remember the last time you were on, because you make like a yearly appearance. And I remember the last time you were on, we were talking specifically about the so-called AI race. And it was right around the time that I think that there was a couple of very notable open AI resignations, because people who were leaving open AI were saying that there are no safety checks in place, that this is going to get out of hand and things are being accelerated at a irresponsible pace. And you were I believe pro-accelerationist at that point, just and not because you thought it was a good thing, but just because you thought we had no other choice.
Right.
Because
look what's happened since then.
Right. Because everybody is going to town, and but man, I don't know, like what is that? So if you were in Donald Trump's position, you would, even though you wouldn't like it, you think that the call that he's making right now is probably the best one. That if he were to veto anything on an AI front right now and just double down on making the United States dollar backed by nothing but gold again, like something physical again, it would be a good thing in principle, but it would actually hurt us somehow. Is that the way you're looking at it?
Wow, that's a big question. Ideally what I would have is I would have some sort of robo-dollar system.
Okay.
Right? Like,
The hell's that?
A robo-dollar is basically the good is convertible for time on a machine.
Okay.
Right? And so, we need to go to a universal basic income system, because essentially what's going to happen, and it's going to happen with my profession first, right? Like engineers are being eliminated because, especially the junior roles, if they're not using artificial intelligence, right? Like that artificial intelligence is the leverage that allows a programmer to go, 10x, 20x, 40x. And I've seen this myself, right? Like I've got an open source repo. I've got an estimated 65 man years that I've been able to complete in just 2 years. And so, we need to hit the gas on this, because China's not going to hit the brakes, right? They're just going to go full steam. And the side effect is the complete elimination of all sorts of manual labor. Why pay a lawyer or attorney $400 an hour when you can get, an AI to draft a demand letter for you on your behalf? That's, background research that doesn't contain hallucinations, that is all fact checked. This is basically going to, undermine the entire presumptions of our economic system, which is that human labor and expertise has intrinsic value. Pretty soon, it's going to not have value. And so,
it's funny. Now, I don't like anything universal basic income, and I will fight that to the death, because that's the end of mankind. I mean, when you take away human ambition and anything that gives you integrity for work and creating, you're just creating. I mean, you're essentially saying stop tending to the world, stop doing things for any reason, and just finger paint all day and play with yourself. But just last night, I had a guest in. We were talking about a lot of different types, like group dynamics, things like how politics plays into things, and we were also talking about Marxism and the so-called labor movements and all that. I said, and we're already seeing it. We have some really great examples over the last month or so, and you talk about everything that we've seen coming out of the SNAP EBT situation, and how many tens of millions of people are really just creating a lifestyle on this thing that was supposed to be a safety net, which is all illegal as it is. But also the way that Democrats in particular go and campaign for the right to keep illegal immigrants in this country so that they could essentially be the new slave underclass, because Americans who used to really find a lot of integrity and dignity in being able to go and take an agricultural job and work in the fields and just be outside, they don't want them anymore. And I started saying, I said, you watch over the next 10 or 15 years ago, the one word they're going to use less and less in all their lobbying and all of their special interest movements, it's all going to include the word labor less and less. They're going to, because more and more they're essentially saying we deserve not to work. So what was very labor intensive is really getting snipped out of the picture. You can see it happening already.
Right. And which is the reason why I'm telling everybody that, that will listen, that they need to start using artificial intelligence for pretty much like everything and getting used to it now. I think what's going to happen, in the next few decades is that we're going to get a major division between the administrators of the technocracy and basically the worthless eaters, right? And the beginning of that's like sort of happening right now. You can use AI through a computer interface and be able to level up your intentions. And then, there's going to be the transhumanist phase that's going to come in probably the next 5 to 10 years, which is you're going to see people that are basically connected directly to a computer. And it's almost going to be like the difference between upgrading from an old school dial-up modem to fiber optic connection, brain directly into the artificial intelligence. And we don't know what that's going to be like, but I assume that it's going to be incredible for an administrative point of view, because you're going to be able to, just think of a factory, and then the factory is going to appear by the robots, and you're going to have your entire brain paying attention to the inputs of the machine. Right. And so we're going to have a separation where, 1% of the population is going to be able to administer the entire system for, the entire civilization.
Yeah.
But I do want to add that people may take from this that they believe that most of the people are going to be eliminated through death. Right. And I want to say that that's actually not the way that I see it. And here's why. I want to give an optimistic point of view.
What? Immortality?
No, at the end of the day, well, yeah, that too eventually, but in the near term, how do you make sure that these machines are doing what's in humanity's best interest? Like, what's the scalable amount of control you can have for machines? Like, yeah, you can scale machines to 101, but if things go wrong, you've got a really big problem. Now you got a really big problem. You might not be able to survive, right? The only way that humanity is going to be able to lock down these machines is if they have a certain size of the population that's willing to actually connect with these things through a transhumanist connection, direct neural link, whatever, and physically control these bots with a human feedback in the loop. And the scale of that loop, which means the scale of the amount of robots you're going to be able to have, is going to be based upon the number of living human beings in your society. So, it's going to get scary. And then once we find the new equilibrium, I think we're going to, basically have a Star Trek sort of utopian experience. You know, that's kind of going into eschatology, but I do believe that we are going to have a happy ending at the very end.
Oh, I don't find anything like that doesn't sound fucking happy at all. Oh, first of all, if you what I saw coming out of Popular Mechanics with them previewing what 6G would be all about, it kind of sounded like what you were just saying right there, where it's actually, you know, the human population, the human beings would actually end up becoming the network generators. They would actually end up becoming the things that are creating all of the Wi-Fi and all of the cell phone connectivity. That we were the cell phone towers of the future. But I don't know. I'm starting to see such a dip in intelligence already that I think that if we got fiber optic channeled into some kind of a machine or something else, I do not believe that we would have the power, the ability to control the machine. I think that we would be controlled. I see us becoming remote controlled meat suits, and even more so than some people think we already are. But you know what? The timeline you put us on is pretty close, and I think that over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, you and I are still going to be semi-young lads, and I think that we should be able to mark our progress or our digressions as we go along. And I that's why I love these little pop-ins. Anything else you want to leave people with as we wrap up this segment?
If you guys are going to AmFest, go to the James O'Keefe Make America Rave Again. You'll see me there. Say hi.
Oh, are you going to be speaking?
I'll probably be dancing on stage. That's usually what he has to do.
Well, listen now. What is your? We've been following each other on Twitter for the longest. Is that where you prefer people follow your work? Do you do any of live streams of your
Twitter.
own still?
Yeah, let me give you my Twitter. It's x.com/perpetual maniac. That was my gamer tag. It became my political tag. If you want to see the Google Leaks disclosure, you can go to zachvorhies.com. You'll see the link right there on the page, and check out my book, googleleaksbook.com. There
you go, zachvorhies.com, perpetual maniac, googleleaksbook.com. Zach, I love hanging out with you, and we got to do it more often, more than once a year, maybe once every 6 months, just to start.
Yeah, twice a year. Let's do it.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for everything.
All right, Frank. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, everybody. There you go, Zach Vorhies. I don't know. That doesn't sound like I don't see that utopian. I don't see arguing whether or not it's possible is something else. But I don't know if I would actually think that that's a nice thing. I don't know. I would become like John the Savage from Brave New World, find myself a lighthouse to hang out in until I couldn't take it anymore. But there you have it. You know, it's crazy. I'm going to open up the lines. You guys call in. When we have our next guest come in about 15 minutes, that is Matt from Cultivate, Elevate. He doesn't even, I'm going to ask him about nuclear power. He doesn't think that even nuclear is a thing. I know there's quite a few of you out there just a few. I don't know how much quite, but there's a few of you out there who are on the same page as Matt. So I just love how there's going to be such polar opposites from hour to hour in tonight's episode. And yeah, so putting that out there. So you call into the show. We have about 10 or so minutes to get all of your thoughts in, from my opening statements to Zach's point of view on things, and maybe whatever Trump announced last night, Dan Bongino, whatever the hell you think is going on there. Call in 914-200-0269. Remember a few things, though, with our wonderful sponsors, especially Keto Brainz. Tonight is the last night to ensure Christmas delivery for a few sponsors. KetoBrainz.com, that's one of them. Use promo code Santa for 20% off. The greatest nootropic product you're going to use. It just happens to be a non-dairy, non-sugar creamer that you can put into your coffee. And I will be sipping on that tomorrow morning when we do our broadcast from Studio B. And it is such an enjoyable part of my morning and makes me feel I multitasking a whole bunch of things. I get a lot done, and it just relaxes the hell out of me. That's the L-theanine that brings you down and focuses you. The lion's mane mushroom, the alpha GPC. Check it out. Promo code Santa. You'll get it to your house before Christmas, but also you'll be in the running for the $500 worth of products plus. That will be announcing the winner of that on December 30th. It's also the last day of Christmas delivery of silver to get to your house on time. I got myself some dimes. I can't give everybody an ounce each this year. It's all too much. But that's good. You know, you saw the writing on the wall. I got some dimes though. So today is the last day. Quite Frankly.gold. Use promo code Frankly and you'll get free silver on top of whatever you buy. No, there is no order too small. So that's all I got for you on that one. So 914-200-0269. Hold on. I'm actually getting a... Matt needs a... I'm sorry. I have to send this to Matt. He needs the Zoom link. I was trying to get it to him before. Hold on. Give me a moment. Cultivate, elevate. There you go. I just sent it to the support email. So he should be showing up anytime now. Give me a buzz, 914-200-0269. In the meantime, I am going to take a look at all of your super chats. And remember, we are now building up names for the raffle. Any super chat gets you into the raffle. Anytime you put it in, it increases your chances for the last of my black wheelchair Santas. The last of it. And you're also going to get an ounce of silver. I'm going to throw in my band's 2017 shrink-wrapped album. And I'm going to find more things. I'm actually going to add. I'm going to add a full bag of Signals animal-based meal replacement shakes. That's about $100 right there. I'm going to add that in. I'm going to add Dulce, all the stuff. So you'll see. I'm going to be dragging you along the way. All right, let's see. First one up. Jay Britt says, "Hey, what's going on, man? I'm sorry I had to turn off the super." See, he said this.
Hey.
It was great. Joe Martinez, thank you so much. Gribble Sillin, who won the other night. Wisconsin here, cracking beers. Good for you, my friend. And there's Shotzi. Shotzi just said hello in her own little way. Thank you so much for the tip. Jeannie, Yankee fan, is gifting us subscriptions over there on Twitch. I love how that the Twitch has rejoined the ranks here in 2025. Mardu says, "Love your work, Frank." I love you, Mardu. Thank you so much. And I hope you're hanging out with us during the flip side tonight. I'll play extra hard on the drums. Let's see. Over on Rumble, we got Badlands hanging out with us tonight, too. I just love Thursdays with Badlands. Patriotic Girl says, "Wishing my sister Nina a happy birthday. She's an avid listener of yours, hoping she's having a wonderful birthday on Saturday." Nina, happy birthday. I'm so happy for you. Happy for you. Nat Wall says, "Merry Christmas, everyone." Yes. Merry Christmas, one and all. Posa for Hope says, "Roses are red. Frank so astute. Frankly, he's just that cute." Roses are red. Frank's so astute. Frankly, he's just that. Well, I appreciate that making me blush over here, but there needed to be a little bit more in there. Dun 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 dun. Nun 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 nun. Nun 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 nun. Nun 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 nun. You left a little something out. Not to nitpick, because I just appreciate your support one way or another. Thank you. Jay Semo says, "Another great show." I agree. Badlands, is everybody giving each other rub downs and massages in Badlands? Look at this. Everybody's getting very handsy in there. Team Smooth says, "A blessed Christmas to you." Thank you. Thank you. Wow, the Next News Network has rated our stream. Hats off to Next News. I know Next News. Holy shit. That's very nice. Thank you so much. Well, anyway, we're going to be doing roulette. Conspiracy Theory Roulette with our good friend Matt from Cultivate, Elevate in just a moment. In fact, I'll just throw this up on the screen just to see if he comes in early. He probably will. Let's see. Stacks Thank you so much. Is on Pilled. Texas Little Red said, oh, just bought a 12-month bronze tier subscription. 12 months. That means one whole year of book clubs, film clubs. Going to be in the watch party on Friday night, I hope. Sunday streams, all of the members only videos and posts and recipes. I'm going to be putting out a very special eggnog recipe. It's not George Washington's, but it's something even better. I know it's hard to... George Washington's, I got a lot of people drunk with that stuff. But this one is a special family recipe of a friend of mine who I love this. This eggnog was so thick and creamy, you actually had to eat it with a spoon. And I'm going to share it with you because this year I'm going to get it done. And it doesn't require 5 years sitting inside of a refrigerator. You can serve it. You can whip it together right then and there, serve it right then. And it is just fantastic. I hope I don't screw it up, but I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to share it with you probably on Monday. Sean Joe, Vesper says, now and then we had a hope that if we lived and were good, God would permit us to be pirates. Mark Twain, we are reading Huckleberry Finn for the June book club. If you're going to be reading a book club with us in January, the title is Ready Player One. You can get all of this year's books and past year's books in the new Quite Frankly Amazon storefront. The link is in the description of the episode. There is, like in my everyday essentials in there, people ask about like all of the zinc lozenges and immune boosting protocols that Jay has given me over the years. Then there's all of our book club books. There's also broadcast essentials, the things I use. So it's all right there. And we're going to start off with Ready Player One. In June, we're going to do Huckleberry Finn. In October, we are going to do Shutter Island. And I don't know, in between, we're going to watch a lot of movies, but depending on what my travel schedule is going to be, because it's America's 250th, I want to be able to go somewhere and I don't want to interrupt too many book readings. So I'll see where we can slip in some extra books, but I wanted to make sure we had at least 3 good ones this year and it'll be nice. All right. With that being said, I'm just going to bring the guy in himself. His name is Matt Roski, Cultivate, Elevate, and he has cultivated an incredible group of a network size across the internet. Of course, people are always trying to shut him down, but he does not let that get to him. And you can find him on Instagram. He's on Telegram, all over the place. Not YouTube anymore, though, right, Matt?
No, unfortunately, YouTube decided to take me off, and they told me that I am against the guidelines, and they basically removed me. So now I'm just on Rumble and Odyssey and Telegram.
Well, also Instagram. You've got a great following on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram, I'm up to about 300 and something thousand or so when Instagram decides to show it to people.
Yeah, it never ends. I know, it just never ends, man. And when you think that you're in a flow, the flow changes. And I don't know where you want to go. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things going on with you that I wanted to talk about, but people really loved when you came on the last time, and we just did some conspiracy theory roulette just because you know a lot about a lot. You have really fun opinions on things, and your research has taken you down various rabbit holes. And regardless of what other people say and whether or not they agree with you, you are you're pretty sold on what you have found so far. And I don't know where you want to. I mean, there's one thing over here I would love for you to start with, and that is you have gone and you have bought yourself. Let me check my notes here. Uranium. You own some uranium now. That's
what that is right there.
Okay, so where does one buy uranium? And then we're going to get into more practical questions.
So you can go on to Etsy. You can go on to eBay. You can look at vintage stores. There's also a website, Arizona Uranium, and it's a guy who collects all different types of uranium stones, and he shows exactly what the radiation is that's coming off these stones. And what I've realized is with these stones, just a little snippet, why they tell people to stay away is because, number one, they generate electricity. So radium and uranium collects electricity. So this is physical electricity in my fingertips. And then also when you think about the movie Superman, remember Superman?
Yeah.
So he's got that like kryptonite, that's uranium. And what's interesting is when you put uranium out into the sun, or if you blow onto it, like Marcel Vogel used to do, you'd blow onto it, it'll actually increase the energy. And this is why these are used in nuclear power plants. They're just big steam plants. So people are aware there's no nuclear energy, it's just steam. But when you heat this up, you create a lot of voltage and a lot of energy.
Okay. Well, you got to the first question I had, the first follow-up question I had before I can even get there. I was going, what is going on at nuclear power plants? In the first half, I just had Zach Vorhies on, and I wanted to see his take on what this MIT scientist assassination could have been all about. If you have a theory, I'd love to hear about it. But that led us down a rabbit hole of what AI in the very near future is going to require as a power source, and what kind of infrastructure is going to be needed to be built to be able to supply that, because even the current form, even the current level of nuclearization that we have apparently is not going to be able to cut it as far as what AI is going to drain as far as power goes. So what the nuclear power plants is really just steam, huh? That's it?
Yeah, so it's just pretty much heating up of the uranium ore, just turning it up real hot, and then it creates a whole bunch of steam. And then that steam is just gathered, and it's one big steam plant. So this is why when Chernobyl exploded, it was just a steam plant that exploded. That's why only there were about, I think it was like 60 to 70 deaths total. There were no radiation deaths that they, talked about or anything else like that. It was just because when the steam popped, think of like a big canister, and as it explodes, it pops, and then the steam and everything goes. So it's just they're big steam plants. And we haven't built any nuclear reactors. I think it was since 1978 I was reading about, because the green energy people, the good old climate people, they came around and said, you guys, we can't do that. We have to get rid of that. So people started protesting. So for example, I believe over in San Francisco, they used to have a nuclear reactor. They got rid of it. And now they have windmills instead, which give them 1% of what the nuclear reactor used to give them. And then the batteries that they have hold a third of the percent to the 1% that they're getting. So, like you just said, in order to have this AI infrastructure and them keep putting all these data centers and this garbage that they're putting all over the place, they're going to start bringing back nuclear reactors. And when you get into nuclear reactors, when you get into the cold, there's like cold fusion. So there's hot fusion, and then there's cold fusion. When you get into the cold fusion, that's probably what that MIT guy was discovering. That's related to cold electricity as well. But when you get into cold fusion, it's very, very, very efficient. So, the thing is when I've started to research things with energy is you don't need a lot of anything to make a lot of energy. Like this little small amount of uranium can produce a ton of energy, just like a little bit of radium is equivalent to about, I think it's 1 million pounds of coal energy wise. So you can easily make these things happen. But like I said, they've just scared people. They told them about the nuclear bombs and all the nonsense that they feared them with and everything else. And it's just, like I said, it's all these things to keep people away from something. That's why I decided to buy it. I decided to buy it, and I thought, I'm going to hold it and I'm going to see what happens. If I'm still alive after, 2 weeks or whatever it may be, then we kind of see what happens. And Galen Windsor was the one who debunked all of this, because he was swimming. I don't know if you ever watched his videos. He was swimming in the nuclear reactors and saying how before World War II, they didn't wear suits, like ever. He's like, we just swam in it. It's perfectly fine. Then all of a sudden government came in and started saying, no, that's not safe. He's like, but we're fine. There's no problems. So this is the same thing. They fear the people. And then they've done the same with radium-2 and radon gas. So that's another one. They tell people there's radon gas in their house and it's going to poison them. There's never been a study that shows us that it poisons them. So you have all these things where we've gone through this bait and switch. And that's why I decided I'm going to do it for myself. I'm going to test it. I'm going to get my own ore. And I actually got a radium water jug, and I'm going to test that next. I'm doing a test right now where I'm going to see if a banana, so it's just a banana that I put in there, will last forever. Because when you connect into uranium and radium, you get into immortality. So all these things are connected and everything interconnected.
Wait. When radium and uranium, you start getting into immortality, you said?
Yes. So there was the book Radiation Hormesis, where what they did was they took radium stones and they placed them. So they had. Let me just explain. They had two apples. Okay, so two apples, two jars. They took one jar, they put the radium stone in there with the apple in the one jar, and then in the other jar they put nothing, and then they sealed both of them. The one with the radium stone, that one never changed. It lasted indefinitely. It didn't break down, it didn't ferment, it didn't mold. The other side, on the other hand, that apple began to ferment, it began to mold, and it began to break down. And when I was reading about all these things with radium and the book Secrets of the Life with Radium, they were talking about how this was also being done with caterpillars, with mice, and all of these things, and they notice an extension in their life. So there's this connection with the radium and uranium towards, in my opinion, you look at like all these ancient buildings, a lot of these things had that in them. So you think of like these gods who lived to, 800 years or 1,000 years, whatever, the story we've read about. There's this connection that I find everything with radium and uranium. Same with petrified trees. Same with the dinosaur bones, that whole thing. So all of these things have this radioactive property, and it's all connected to these things that have lasted very long periods of time. So there's some connection there right there.
So uranium and radium, that might be the key to all the life, the longevity of Genesis and Leviticus and all that stuff. Because
yes, so over by you, they actually wanted to open up a fountain of Zion, which is funny. What a choice of name!
Wow.
But anyways, of course, it's always that way in New York.
Yeah, but how long this would have? What is your research taking you to a place where it's just every day you spend a certain amount of time around both of these sources, or is it just something you have to wear around your neck constantly? Like, and if you take it off, do you start aging normally? Like it's that Mel Gibson movie or something?
So I would say while you're holding it, while you're physically feeling it, you can feel the effects. It almost feels like electricity is running through your body. That's the best way to describe it. And I actually gave it to two guys. They were delivering something today and went to test it and gave it to them to see how they felt. And they felt the charge go right through their body. So, there is electricity coming off of this. And this is what Henry T. Murray was talking about too. He was pulling 50 kilowatts out of the air using radium stones. So there's a lot of voltage with this. But yeah, when you get into this whole thing, what I was going with the Fountain of Zion in New York, they were going to open up this radium fountain, and it was considered the fountain of youth. And you always see this fountain of youth. You hear this thing all the time. And what I started to realize is it connects to the radium, the hot springs, all of this water, this sacred water. Artesian springs is what they call it. Artesian springs just contain a whole bunch of radium and uranium.
Well, let me ask you this, because I know that, well, at least it's on the record that and what does the record mean, right? But as far if I go back to like Chernobyl, I was looking at there are deaths that are linked to Chernobyl. I think there was 28 that died within weeks of the meltdown. There's 134 confirmed cases of acute radiation syndrome. And but what happened? What happened to them? I don't know. Was there something that was off? I mean, is it a certain kind of chemical exposure that was misdiagnosed? In your estimation, what do you think happened to them?
So if you look at the thing that happened with most of those, 60 to 100 people, I believe, died altogether with Chernobyl. And then that was because of the explosion. So when the explosion happened, those pieces and those shards all went completely nuts. Plus, if you think of all the chemicals, like that were building the thing and everything else, when it gets heated up, then you might have maybe some acute, very small amount of radiation. But the majority of people who died in Chernobyl, what most people don't know is they aborted. They actually aborted 100 to 200,000 children because they thought that they were going to turn into mutants. So they decided to abort 100,000 to 200,000 kids because they thought that this radiation was going to get them. But now when you go and look up the pictures, everything's green as can be, and everybody's very, very healthy over there. So, we get sold this bait and switch, and that's what we got sold to with Japan. In Japan, they said they dropped these atom bombs. Well, first off, nobody's ever seen an atom, ever. Nobody has a picture of it. So how do you split something that you can't see? And then number two, they use napalm and mustard gas. They burn the people into the earth. And that's what they did. They firebombed that area. And it's interesting because in the book Radiation Hormesis, I think it's by T.D. Henry, he was talking about that people exposed to radiation, low amounts, so like the uranium and everything else, low amounts actually have less illnesses than the people who were exposed to high amounts of radiation. And this was the part that kind of blew my mind. So right now, as I hold this is ionizing radiation. So this is the same radiation as the sun. So the same healing benefits as holding the sun basically in your hands as you squeeze it. Now on the opposite, you have non-ionizing, which is cell phones, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, wireless, and all of this. And that's what's actually destroying us, when in reality, we need the ionizing, which is actually very beneficial. So we've been flipped on everything and understanding everything. But in reality, the ionizing radiation is the life force energy, and that's what we're tapping into. And then the non-ionizing, Wi-Fi, Alexas, smart meters, Bluetooth, all that, that's the non-ionizing, which if you think about it, non-life giving. And this is why people are suffering from so many health issues when you get into all this stuff, because they're being bombarded with this radiation that's too much for their body versus the people who have just a little bit of radiation, like from radium, uranium, and the sun. They're all healthy as can be.
Well, it's all very interesting. I see the chat room is abuzz with debate right now. I will tell you this, though, Matt, I'm going to just wait a few more months to see how everything goes with you before I attend any dinner parties at your house. I'm just going to observe you from over here in New York. Wait, you sent me some pictures. I don't know if you can actually put it up on screen, but you sent me some pictures of, I think, a section of your yard that you said that has been really, very well integrated with copper. And it was very, for Arizona, for, what we up here in the Northeast conceive as the desert, it looked very green, very lush. And you said that, yeah, I'm starting to get a look at Arizona the way it was way back when. What can you tell us about your accomplishments in the garden?
Oh, it's green as can be. I mean, I've been filming all the butterflies. I got hundreds and hundreds of butterflies. I have all the bees. I mean, the considered weeds that they tell you are weeds, but they're really like, they're feeding the bees and the pollinators and everything else. I mean, they're so large. They're bigger than my head now. The leaves are like, it looks like a jungle. And that's what I was sending you those pictures of. It's completely green. It's just kind of like taking over everything. And if you look at those pictures, or if you look at what it looks like now, it doesn't even look like Arizona anymore. And that's, I think, you start to get into, there was in my opinion, there was maybe some sort of event. That's what the petrified forest, event was, where something happened, which I don't know if it cooked things. I don't know what happened, but we're just kind of left with sand. And it's interesting because Arizona used to have a ton of citrus. There used to be fruit all over. There were date trees all over the place. I mean, it was fruit galore. Cotton was another big one too. Agriculture was huge. Arizona was one of the biggest agriculture states for a very long time in the United States. But somehow over time, and this is just what's weird, is that somehow over time that's kind of just vanished. But over here by me, yeah, it's as green as can be. And I was showing, like I sent you some pictures, the grass is like so tall, everything's massive. And I've been filming the bees and the butterflies, and I got monarchs. They're all over the place. And what I did was I took copper, just like we've talked about with electroculture, and I've put it all over my land. And I put some quartz stones around it as well too. But I put it all over my land, just different pipes and different rods and different things all over. And it was funny because when I first moved over here, my neighbors were telling me like their gardens and their trees and everything were greener. And I'm like, yeah, so when did that begin? And then they told me the date, and I go, yeah, that's when I first moved in. So what I've noticed is that we can uplift the energy of everything around us. And next, I'm going to be doing experiments with uranium, because what's interesting is the New York Botanical Gardens used to add radium water to their plants, and they noticed that they used to grow 2 to 3 times the size. They also noticed that if they took radium and put it by their plants, and that was submerged in pure darkness, the plant would sprout and flower as if it was seeing the sun. So it makes you kind of start to think, like, we know nothing. That's what I'm starting to realize. Like, we know nothing. If you could grow things and they could blossom and they could flower in the dark, and you can look this up if you want to pull it up. Type in RATOR fertilizer, and you can pull it up on the screen and show people. It's RATOR fertilizer, radium fertilizer. It was very popular in the 1920s, 1930s. And then you had Great Depression and the war come, and these things began to vanish because the people were removed, obviously, from the timeline, and all of these businesses magically started to go under during the Great Depression.
I'm trying to think. Hold on. I'm trying to RATOR fertilizer, old school.
Yep.
Old school.
Go to Google and go to images. It'll probably come up.
Let's see. Old school tractor fertilizer methods involve natural inputs like manure and compost and move to bag the inorganic powders. Trying to find it. Yeah, obviously this is. Hold on. Well, I'm gonna take a look at that. Oh, hold on. It keeps changing it all. It turned into tractor. RATOR.
Yeah, RATOR. Yeah.
Organic vegetable. Oh, hold on. No. Damn, this is hard to find. Wait. No, this is hard to find. I can't find anything. RATOR. There's nothing here.
So let's pull it up real quick. So type in RATOR space radium space fertilizer, and then go to the images, and you can show people in there. RA-TOR.
Yeah,
it probably, Google loves to hide everything. That's what they're good at.
Oh yeah, the hiding. Okay, so yeah, I'm seeing this for the library UCSD.edu. This is like from a college library. Oh, I see this. Yeah, radium fertilizer. I just found an entire like a manufacturing book on it and all that stuff. I'll look into it. You know, that's it's not like when you reference things, there's not a source for people to go and verify that there's material there. I guess, as you've probably seen over time, there are people who draw different conclusions from materials that have been unearthed, but there's just so much that has been published that is from a now extinct world that people don't even, they have know anything about its existence in the first place. So you have to wonder how much has been lost, how much has been deliberately squirreled away, and also how many things get lost just by mistake or by a miscalculation, and all of a sudden an inefficient way of doing something that we used to do has now just become the norm. You know, it doesn't even have to have a conspiracy attached to it. Sometimes we just get into bad habits and we screw shit up. So here's something, because you brought up a few theories about what could have happened in the past that killed everything off, and dinosaurs and all that. I found a reel that this girl is pulling together all types of stuff. Like, it's a rapid fire theory connecting to rabbit hole and rabbit hole. So I'm going to just play it and we'll watch it together. It's a couple minutes long because there's so much in it. At any time that you want to just jump in and start talking, do so, and I'll just pause. Okay.
Of course.
All right, here we go. Let the roulette begin. Here we have it. And hold on. Get this in the middle. All right, here we go.
If you had to choose, would you rather know what was going on in Antarctica, the Vatican, or Area 51? Because the rabbit holes...
Okay, first, let's just say that. Don't give me too much, because I don't want to take up too much time here. We could do it at the end. If you can choose between a rabbit hole, knowing everything you need to know or want to know about what's at the Vatican, Area 51, or Antarctica, which one would you choose first?
I'd probably pick Antarctica.
Okay.
Because I feel like that one's... I mean, the Area 51, we can just assume. And then the Vatican, I mean, they got books. And yes, they could have some cool books. But I would rather probably pick Antarctica.
Okay. Me too.
secrets just feel never ending. When I was thinking about the Vatican earlier, I was like, think about the fact that the Bible itself had 80 books in the 1600s. Now we're down to 66, and they removed things like giants, dragons, sirens, Enoch, the book of Mary Magdalene. All of these different things are hidden from us, and we just don't even know why. Nevertheless, I saw this guy talking about the fact that there were 200 angels that fell from the sky, and around the earth we have 190 craters that have no rock or rubble that were ever found. And then this other person was like, yeah, 10 of them fell into the ocean.
Okay, stop right there. 190 craters around the earth that don't have any kind of fragment or rubble at the center of it that would indicate what the original impact was all about. And some people say, oh yeah, those are the 200 angels that fell from heaven, and 10 just fell into the oceans. What do you think about something like that?
So there's two things here. There's a crater up in northern Arizona, and that's very close to almost where the petrified forest is. So some sort of relation there. And then the thing that you just said with the angels, all of the old world buildings, every single World's Fair, all of the buildings had angels on top of them. That's the number one thing that I have seen removed out of all the books that I've went through, from the 1700s to the 1800s to the 1900s. The number one thing removed is the angels with the trumpets that used to be on top of all of these buildings. So somebody knew something, because I don't know who would craft or make, thousands and thousands and thousands of statues. Even in France, with that, it's like that magnetron thing. That thing had angels on top of it as well, too, with trumpets. So there's definitely this connection. And if I think about it, if I wanted to build, it would be easy if I could fly, it would make it a lot easier than me and you trying to sit there with a, pretend hammer and chisel and things like that. But I think there's a lot more that it's shown to us, but we just don't see it. They also used to say abundance and love on every single building too. So that's another interesting one too.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Then this lady blew my mind, because she was like, what if that's what took the dinosaurs? And why would there be a book about dragons if dragons never existed? And I've gone down so many rabbit holes in the last couple of days that my mind is completely depleted and exhausted, but I'm also super intrigued and I just want to know more. But I feel like I'm just going in circles, because every time I uncover a layer, I end up looking into something else that has nothing to do with what I was looking for. And then I'm just stuck, because I'm like, I didn't know this either. So what do y'all think about this? Like, if you had to choose, what would you go to first? Okay, let me know your thoughts in the.
Okay, well, you said Antarctica. Hey, what do you think about that? I mean, obviously you have some opinions about dinosaurs as well. Well, you don't think too highly of them.
Well, when you get into carbon dating, carbon dating has a 99.9% inaccuracy rate. So we can make up any number that we want. Mm-hmm. I could say that something was 50 million years ago and sell you a book and tell you it was 50 million years ago. But what I've realized is I think things are much closer. Like things are almost 500 years out, because I even found pictures from Egypt where the Great Pyramid is covered with greenery, like grass, in 1799. So just not too long ago, and everything as green as can be. There's palm trees. It is beautifully green. So that's a short window, because we're only 300 years later with the whole situation. But as for the dinosaur thing, so there was my buddy Archivist with an analog. He was doing a whole bunch of really cool research with newspapers, and he was finding all these newspapers from the 1700s and 1800s of giant bones, like big bones of big lizards, big snakes, big things. And in my opinion, there could have been big things at one time, but maybe a group of humans got together and just kind of wiped all those things out. Because you kind of look at even the buffalo, at one time, what was there? I think a 10 million buffalo or something, whatever the number was, something crazy, just roaming the land. Now, I mean, Ted Turner pretty much stole them all, but he's got the only remaining ones left of the groups that used to be roaming. So, things could have been here, and there's lots of pictures of these things, of much larger things. But when I went to the New York City, it was the Museum of Natural History. They had all these dinosaurs on display.
Yeah.
And I asked the guy, I go, well, when did they do this? When did they put this together? And he said, this has been here since 1902. And I said, you never updated it since 1902? He's like, no, but we actually found this other dinosaur, which looks like a T-Rex, and it has wings. And I said, wait, what? And I go, you mean like a dragon? And then I thought when I was seeing all the T-Rexes, the skulls of the T-Rex that are on display, I thought, what happened if those were dragons? Because when you look at our history, there is always dragons or serpents, being displayed. And imagine if that actually existed. There's so many stories with this that you have to question why every person would say that story, or why when you go into, for example, Europe and you go to certain places, all of the streets have the word dragon in them. And you're sitting there going, well, why are you using that word so much? Almost as if, in my opinion, something like that could have existed. That's just my thought.
I know. Because there's so many things that have there's so many things that have become cultural linchpins around the world. You think about, even we have cultural icons for seasons like Christmas and all that stuff. Rudolph and the rest of his friends that fly around. But we don't. You don't tend to have too many of these. It's not like taken as seriously as some other things. Like you're saying, dragons. That's something that crosses continents. Just like we talk about the almost seemingly connected ways that continents that were not supposed to know anything about each other's presence back in the day, with the way that they built their megalithic structures and what the purpose of these megalithic structures were, the ziggurats in the Western Hemisphere and the pyramids in the East and all that, and how they all were connected to some sort of a star chart kind of a scenario there. You wonder about all that stuff. What kind of shared technology, shared knowledge, and connectivity there may actually have been at a time where the world was supposedly so isolated. Another thing that kind of transcends all of those barriers are things like giants and dragons. And you say, well, is this just really primitive people who just hallucinated a lot, or they just really love their folklore so much that or was it real encounters that slipped eventually into myth and legend? Just like, so that's like, I think it's one of the opening lines in Lord of the Rings when they're talking about just the existence of the ring itself. And I forgot what that line is. I have to look it up. But yeah, talk about that.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of like, that's kind of where I was thinking. And even if you think of I think it's in China, they dress up like a dragon. They have it's like a dragon event. And it's I think it's part of I think it's part of their New Year, where they're all dressed up in dragons. So it's like there's so much of this, you're showing this dragon over and over and over again. And then you have the people dressing up to do it. Just kind of like, same as Native Americans. Native Americans dress up as the birds. They dress up as as the messengers. There's something much more here, and I've started to think, like, if everything could be bigger, like we've talked about, and you're tapping into these things, and the uranium, radium, the whole spiel that we just talked about. If everything could be much larger, then we don't even know what could have existed at one time. And the only thing we do know is in books. And when you see all these books, like from the 1800s, talking about these giant lizards and giant this and giant that, there's something there. Now you can say whales are really big, and they're natural. So it's like, it's the only thing. It's funny that you said it. It's the only thing that if you say like dragons are real, someone will make you sound like you're crazy. But whales are gigantic, elephants are gigantic. There are large things. Even those big lizards, those Komodo, I think lizards or whatever it is in Australia.
Yeah.
Friggin' huge, So like, imagine that thing 3 times the size roaming around. I don't know. I don't put it past me anymore, just because the more I've explored these things and looked into things, the more that what you kind of are being shown all the time it's right in front of you, and that's kind of how I started to see it, rather than it just doesn't exist at all, because it's shown too many times through too many different cultures for it not to be something present, in my opinion.
Well, if a pterodactyl could have been, if you can go to the Museum of American History and look up at the ceiling and see this suspended pterodactyl, that display up there. If you look up there and go, wow, You know, the ancient, the prehistoric world must have been just an incredibly terrifying and awesome place, and blah blah blah. If you could look at that and just imagine what the world would be like with that thing being alive, then why would a dragon be? I mean, they're essentially dragons, and I don't know. It's not here. The line from Lord of the Rings, which is actually going to bring us to a little bit more of Antarctica. This is the opening line when they're talking about how the ring had just been taken, and they said some things that should not have been forgotten were lost. History became legend, legend became myth, and for 2,500 years, the ring passed out of all knowledge. So that even just, you know, who the hell would be the wiser about what this thing was just laying in the riverbed if it ever came across it. And that's where I feel like might be the situation with so many things. It's just, who knows how long time is, how long of a timeline we're actually on, how many resets there were, and you gotta wonder at that point. And with that, speaking of Lord of the Rings and the kind of world that was told there, a lot of people think that Tolkien was actually constructing a story based on true accounts of far more ancient, you know, I don't know, I guess far more ancient accounts of what it was like in Europe and other parts of maybe the world that we don't know about anymore. So here we're going to go back to ice wall stuff. Take a listen to this.
You're saying there's an entire country we don't know about? What if I told you there's a part of the Earth no one's ever seen? At least, not the people you know. Everyone's stuck believing the Earth is this perfect little globe where sure, you just stroll in a circle, and boom, you're back where you started. Cute idea, right? But tell me, why don't we just cross Antarctica? Oh, right, because nobody ever has. You think it's just this cold, useless slab of ice at the bottom of the world, but that's the lie. Antarctica? It's not just land, it's a wall, a barrier. It locks us inside the tiny part of the Earth we think we know. And what lies beyond, that's where things get interesting. The people in power, they know what's on the other side. They make sure you stay clueless like good little sheep, believing you live on 7 continents. But you've got no idea what's out there. Whole continents. Oceans bigger than the Pacific. And humans who have lived beyond that ice wall for centuries were nothing more than their experiment, caged inside this small, controlled space.
So I guess the humans on the other side of the wall are all, you know, jacked up on uranium and radium. They are.
It could be actually.
But
remember, Germany was trying to go over there. If you remember all that whole thing, you know, when you get into the Germans in World War II, you know, you get into the bells, the bell Glock and everything that they were doing. You know, they were trying to go over there and they were trying to see what's up there. Then I think they were going down south too to try to see the other side. So, you know, there is some fascination with something up there because there's obviously something going on. You know, I mean, it's not just, in my opinion, one just piece of snow. You know, I think that there's something much more to it than just a couple pieces of snow. They have shown pyramids that have been wiped off of Google Maps. You know, there used to be pyramids up there and then they just kind of blurred it out so you can't see it anymore. You know, and then you have to think of how every president and all of the leaders, they all go up there, which is really strange. It's the only place that has a treaty that all of the countries like have to protect, which makes no sense because what is so special that's up there that they're trying to protect whatever is going on up there, that they have a treaty across the whole entire world. So something definitely I could say is up there. You know, you kind of think of that movie Prometheus. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
Absolutely.
But it's something kind of that reminds me of something where it could be like the origin of, you know, maybe humanity or something is actually up there. And that would be interesting to see giants up there. And they were all up there this whole time while we're just sitting down here with our, you know, inefficient vehicles and everything else. I wouldn't be surprised, you know, at this point.
I wouldn't either. But, you know, speaking of the new year, new ventures, I can't wait to bring you on and do these talks more often. They really are a lot of fun for me. But you're also about to release a book, no?
Yes, so I'm finishing up my electroculture book and just getting it all. Today, I just was showing a little bit of the trial printing up on Telegram. of what I got in there. I have some stuff with smart meters. I got stuff with wireless technology. I got stuff with electroculture. I have stuff with just anything you could think of. I debunked it all. I debunked we're running out of water, we're running out of oil, we're running out of this, we're running out of that. And then it's all tied into all of the scientists that I could find who relate to electroculture and the topic of the ether. So this uranium and this radium that's sitting in my hand, that's in there too as well. It goes through every single thing. I put structured water in there, anything you can think of that's pretty much to elevate your garden and elevate your land and elevate your health. It's pretty much covered in there. And it's really just a stepping stone for people to just kind of see from a different angle so they can understand kind of what we're dealing with. Because a lot of the books that I composed into one, it's piecing each book into this book so that everything flows together. Because when I would find things in one, it would actually complement something else, kind of like the whole thing of what we talked about radium and uranium today. So each thing complements one another. And that's what this whole book is. It's just keeping an open mind. And then also things that you can implement into your greenhouse, into your garden, into your indoor garden, whatever it may be. Because in my mind, everybody should have an abundance of food. And that's where electroculture led to. But this, I want to go with water, energy, food, and pretty much debunk all the nonsense that we've been sold at the same time.
I think that what you're doing is great. Anybody that I know who is in the process of compiling a book, especially one that is really almost like a research diary for you, like you said, one thing led to another, and of course there is this field guide aspect to what you're putting together. I love that because, of course, I think that print, anything in print, physical things that we can have, that we can start building our own personal libraries up again, that is not dependent on a hyperlink that will, over the course of a couple of years, you go back to reference something you thought was a really good read, and all of a sudden the page is not there anymore. I think that that getting into this and building up an anthology of work, because you do so much research and you compile so much stuff from books that have been long out of print. I mean, I sent you an old ass book that my cousin gave me because I thought that you might be able to find some stuff in there that we have to do some. I forgot to even ask you about that, but you find books that have been out of print for sometimes many, many decades, and you're reviving lost information. That, like we said before, might be a better option of approaching certain scenarios and certain conditions, both atmospheric and within the body, that are even better than us now in our high-tech state. So I really I can't wait for that. When does it come out?
So I'm doing the trial printing right now just to see how it looks, it's because I want to make sure it looks nice and like the font and everything's all good in the pictures. And then I'm hoping to have it within the next couple months. It's just finishing up the last little parts and then aiming for spring of 2026. And it was funny, the book that you sent me, it was on electrotherapy. And that was an ancient practice of electrotherapy. And it was funny because in that back of the book, and I don't know if you noticed, but we'll just say it in there because it's just funny. But in the back of the book, they were taking electric rods and placing them into different parts of the body.
That's right.
You sit there and think, I don't think that's going to do things to help people, but we'll just, at that time, they discovered electricity and they thought that every electricity should go everywhere. But yeah, it's just funny because the book, you're looking at these diagrams and I'm going, wait, what? You're going to put that what and do what?
Do you have the book? Wait, do you have the book near you?
No, it's downstairs in the library.
Okay. My cousin Sherry sent that to me, and I said, oh, man, it was like electrotherapy. It was an old electrotherapy book. I said, you know what? I'm going to send this over to Matt, see if he wants it. And because I wanted to see if you can dig into something and we can turn it into a segment together, and then it could just be a part of your library. And then Matt, you send me a picture of a diagram at the end of them putting some kind of an electrical device into somebody's ass. And I'm like, oh, shit. Well, like I said before, there could be some old ways that were lost that were better than now. And there could just be a lot of just bad ideas that, thank God, we moved on from them. So whatever.
Well, on that thing, it in the beginning of the book, it actually talked similar to the TENS unit, which is those little patches that people would put with the battery, and they would just do a slight stimulation. And that's a very small stimulation, similar to the radium and uranium. So it did have that. And then it just took it to a whole nother level when I got towards the end of the book, So then that's the thing is like, yeah, everything you can start somewhere and then it goes. But during that time, that's 1920s is when that book was written. That during that time is when they were experimenting with a lot of like just electrifying people. Like people would line up and they would literally tase them. Like they would come to the business and they would tase them. So like, it was new at that time, but I guess now people realize, there's better ways to heal, like just eating healthy instead.
Right. There's better ways. Well, Matt, thanks for the time tonight. And if this is the last time you're on the show before New Year's Day, which is only a couple of weeks away, thank you for all of the company that we were able to create some fun conversations in 25, and I'm looking forward to 26.
Definitely, brother. Have a Merry Christmas and also a Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and cultivateelevate.com. I know that we have quite a few people in the audience who buy your products. I know my friend Linda said that she was just getting some pearl powder. You were a wonderful contributor and a friend to our jamboree. People really, really loved having your stuff inserted into some of the gift baskets over there. And I hope people go check your stuff out and follow you. I follow you primarily on Instagram. Even when you were on YouTube, Instagram, I follow you there more often than anything else. And also I'm linked up with you on Telegram. So I hope that people find you, keep in touch with you, and I'm looking forward to the next time you return.
And then when the next supplements come out, because I do have new stuff for 2026, I'll send them your way. So you can try them.
Thank you. That'd be great. And if you ever wanted to send something over to me to give away on air as part of a contest or something like that, people love stuff like that. So
definitely, 100%.
Thanks
All
again.
Right, well, you have a great Christmas. Have a Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time.
You too. Be well. There you go, everybody. That's the last that we will see of Matt of 2025. It's crazy how we're in that time right now where a lot of the things that we're doing is the last that we're doing it. All right, 914-200-0269. We've got a great viewing audience all over the place. Things are really, the last couple of weeks, can I just tell you, I was saying this to the Flip Side people last night. Thank you to everybody who has been helping the show over the last 3 weeks. I've been putting pedal to the metal with new daily action plans to really counteract a lot of what's been happening on the platforms. The actions that the platforms are doing they always prioritize short content over live content. So that's something there too. But there's a lot of anti-spam stuff going on out there that is deprioritizing accounts and their connections with their voluntary subscribers by reassessing all of you guys who watch as high quality or low quality viewers to be able to kind of med out what's a bot and what's a real person, and to even keep some, content creators in line for not trying to game the system. So the way that you guys can help your favorite shows, whether it's on Rumble, whether it's on YouTube, X, wherever the hell it is, if there is a like button, hit it. If there's a comment section, say something, share it. And yes, that's all. In the last 3 weeks, you guys have been, things are really turning around. Your little efforts in the chat room of just saying hi and leaving a like and going back about your day, and then everything that I'm doing different over here with the output is, I'm feeling positive momentum going at 26, and it's good to finally have the reins in hand again, because for a while there I was kind of like flailing in the dark saying, okay, what the hell's going to stick? But you guys are fantastic. Thank you all so much, and become a member wherever you can, because I'm loving you down with members only stuff. The content has been great lately. Today I published, Aurora and we had a under the tree morning meeting, a morning meeting under the Christmas tree this morning. You know how you just lay under the Christmas tree when it's lit up and you just look around? Well, we were having a meeting under there. So that was today's upload. So check it out. Become a member wherever you are. All right, 914-200-0269. I cannot believe that there's no... Oh, hold on. There's a couple of people who did call in. Shit. What's going on with Zoom? Well, we only got 6 minutes left, and then I'm going to go hit the flip side. I'm going to go into the other room, fire up the drums, stream, And we're going to like do some stuff on the drums tonight. Do some hopefully some nasty shit we'll do on the drums tonight. So we'll see what happens there. All right, back to the super chats. Gribble Sillin said, who's known for saying truth is stranger than fiction? I don't know. It's one of those sayings. Paul Tipped says, hey, Frank, so many fantastic shows this week. Merry Christmas to you, the family, and all the Franklies out there. Paul, thank you. I really appreciate that. I do. Gino's love to you and the family, Francis. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Gino. Gino's been around for a while. Fantastic. All right, let's see here. Two Dogs Mike D says, Santa is black. He is gay. He is disabled. I should put him on my tree. Well, you know, if you could win, then that's all that matters. That's what we have right here. I mean, I love it. Love it so much. I'm going to miss you, buddy. I have one of your friends. I have one of your black wheelchair friends in my room. I'll never let go of him. But you, it's going to be good to get you a nice, loving home. So that's what we have. Okay. Poso for Hope says, I have a radium bowl. Now I need a uranium stone. Oh, shit. Listen, I didn't even look into the chat room. For a long time. I mean, Albert, God rest his soul. I think about Albert this time of year. You know, well, that's something else. We got to make an in memoriam video this time of year. So many good friends. But Albert, he was the one. Flat Albert. Good man. He was the one that sent me all of the videos of what's his name. I forgot his name, swimming around in the radioactive water. Saying, listen, nukes are fake. Space is gay. Just say it over and over again. I was like, okay. So what do you want me to say? Sometimes you can't contend with that. So I'm sure that the debate was lively in the chat room, and that's all what it's all about. Let's see here. Dragons? Why not? It's got to be. Two Dogs says, did the other angels laugh and point at the 10 who crashed into the ocean? Well, maybe not. Maybe the ones who crashed into the ocean, those are the ones who set up all of those underwater bases. Maybe that became their domain. You know, perhaps it wasn't a mistake. Man, what a scary place to live. Even if you're an angel, I would not want to live in the ocean like that. Damn, it's so scary. The ocean scares me so much more than space. Psh, come on. You guys too, right? The ocean scares me so much more than space. I wonder what he thinks about geoengineering. Dane Wigginton. What Matt thinks about it? Oh, he's right on board with geoengineering. In fact, you know, you talk about all the electroculture stuff. Matt, the first time that Matt was on Cultivate, Elevate, when we were talking about electroculture, part of that was talking about cloud busting. I don't know what I think or still feel about cloud busting, because I see all these cloud busting videos and it just looks like a cloud that's dissolving naturally. It's not like, you know, these copper bundles and tubes are pointing at a nice fluffy cumulus cloud and all of a sudden poof, like one of my hookah bubbles. I love that. Maybe I'll do that sometime soon. I haven't had a hookah in a while. Pack a hookah and you get a toilet paper roll that's spent, or a, you know, paper towel roll, and you cut it, and you get a little bit of soap or something like that, and a little bit of water. You put it into a Solo cup. You make it nice and soapy, and then you put the end of the paper roll on the end of it to actually like create a bubble, like you're going to blow a bubble. Only that time, you take the hookah smoke and you blow the bubble, and it just fills up the smoke fills up the bubble and just starts floating around. And we used to play this game called Bipsy because we called it Bipsy because we used to play it with our friend named Gypsy. And one night we were all, if you can make it, we can keep it up in the air just by like blowing and like keeping it up in the air. We would see how far we can bring this smoke-filled bubble out of the room and all that shit without it busting. And we would blow until it busted. We would just keep blowing. We would never stop. Nothing stopped us. But we also found out too that if you wore a certain type of material, like a long sleeve shirt, you can actually make the bubble bounce off of your arm, and you can just like bounce this thing around. It was really awesome. Anyway, when this thing would get closer to the ground, everybody would be like, "No, stop it!" And Anthony screamed at Gypsy, "Bipsy!" He wanted to say Gypsy, get it, but he said Bipsy instead. We loved it. We said the game's name is Bipsy. We haven't played Bipsy in a long time. Why the fuck? Oh, cloud busting. A lot of clouds got busted over the years. And when it dissolves, it just looks awesome. The bubble pops and... Anyway, that's all I have for you on that one. Okay. Post Over Hope says, roses are red, Frank was blue. Needed a tweak only for you. Is that better, Frank? Yes, it's balanced. You probably just made a lot of people feel a lot better about that. So, Dur Ruffin says, another great year. Thank you, Frank. Thank you. I hope we have another 40 years together. I can go another 40. I could. I'll be talking to your great-grandchildren. I'll be 80 years old. Can you imagine how bitter I'm going to be at 80? No. Hopefully I'll have enough to retire with by 80. I can do something else. I'll start painting by the beach. I don't want to be a bitter 80-year-old. All I want is perspective. Lord, give me perspective over the years. That's all I want. Let me accumulate perspective, not bitterness. Who the hell needs that? Keep me close to you, Lord. I think that's it. It's 9:01. It's time to get over to the flip side. And thank you all so much for watching, for chatting. If you're watching this after the fact, chat, comment, share, like it, hype it up. If you're watching on YouTube, I don't know what the hype button does, but let's just give it a shot. And we will be back to tomorrow morning. I will see you for the coffee Q&A. Probably somewhere in the 10 o'clock hour. We'll be live. It'll be great. We'll just run through some reels. I'll just talk to the general chat. We'll have some coffee together. It'll be nice. Go out and spend some Christmas money with all of our friends on the affiliates page. There are some great things that you can buy on the affiliates page on quitefrankly.tv. That will turn into some great gift baskets for people, especially if they are fans of the show. Go grab some shirts. There's the UN shirt over there. There's all of the Matt shirts, the Matt's Cryptid shirts. There's so many great merchandise out there. I don't plug my stuff enough. I don't do it very well. There's coffee. There's like 40 coffee mugs left for the 2025 coffee mug. Get those. Get it all. Get it all, my friends. And I will see you soon. See you tomorrow. Okay? Take care. And good night. You son of a bitch.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you. Well, it's been another great night, and thank you again to our wonderful friends on Pilled for hosting us. Really love you all, and I hope to see you more and more, especially going into the new year. For tonight, you can catch us on the flip side. We are not done yet. Come to the flip side. Go and check it out in the chat room. See you in a little bit.
Oh, this is
the last 2.5 inches are always so good. Oh.
Will you shut up?